Alright, welcome to Season 2, Race 10 of my F1 2020 My Team Career. F1 2020 My Team Career Mode with Jaguar Racing F1 team. Like I said, we are at France, Circuit Paul Ricard, and there's been an interesting little development here regarding the team chart. I guess there was an update of some kind to everything, and that's sort of thrown a spanner in the works, as I guess you could say. Originally, we have been the fastest engine. Now we're not. We are now fourth, and Mercedes has taken a huge jump in the engine area. I think what must have happened, I think there was, well, I know this for a fact, there was an update before I started this particular game, this particular weekend. Yeah, and I've been curious because obviously, if you watch the last couple races that I've done, Racing Point had done very well, particularly at Azerbaijan and Baku. And what was funny to me about that was the fact that even though they were doing so well, out-qualifying both Ferraris, both Red Bulls, sort of as they would in real life, it hadn't been reflecting in the performance charts. And they were still listed 5th behind Red Bull and Ferrari. Close, but still behind them. Well, it seems like they have done an update to that, and now, as you can see here, there's been a major shake-up in everything. Now, I checked, what I did is I went back to the video I did for Canada, and I looked at the performance chart when I showed it during that race weekend, and I guess the thing that struck me, I guess that must have changed, is I think they must have changed something where I guess it wasn't showing, or wasn't properly showing the potential drop in performance that was caused by the regulation changes, because the one thing that you can see here is that pretty much every team went down going into Season 2, when originally it had shown that basically everyone had either gone level or had gone up a little bit. So that, I guess that was one change that they made. And obviously, again, I have this on my phone here. I'm looking at it again. And originally, everyone was sort of around the 700 mark. If you're looking at the chart here, where Mercedes is right above 700, that's about close to where they were, maybe a little higher. But then everyone else was a lot closer to that 700 line. Now that gap is widened. Now, I guess this must have been in some sort of error or mix-up with the chart. It wasn't just showing properly for whatever reason. So now, if you look at it, the good news is we are still the number 2 team in terms of performance. I think we're right on level pegging with Red Bull, because you can barely, you can make out my green line for my team, but you can barely make out the Red Bull's color line. So I'm guessing we're like sort of like equal pegging with Red Bull. And Mercedes obviously has had a huge jump. Now, it looks like a big gap, though I noticed when going through practice, I didn't notice any significant difference in our speeds in terms of the times that we were doing, or at least I did most of the practice with the Warren engine. Actually, if I could show it, and I'm going to run this for the race. Basically, engine parts, most of them are in sort of still green, but they're in like the 50% range. in terms of wear. Well, I did that, and I had no problems with any of the practice sessions in terms of breaking the times. I guess the one I would have been concerned about was qualifying, but I absolutely smashed the qualifying test by like a second. So even though this is, I guess that's more to say. I think in terms of this whole thing, I think the issue was more that the chart wasn't displaying things properly. Because at least based off practice, the performance of the car was pretty much the same. I didn't feel any noticeable changes. Like I won a practice. I think Magnussen won a practice, as in had the fastest time. So in terms of performance, I don't think it's affected us that much, personally. And I guess that would sort of also answer as to why Force India, there we go again, Racing Point was doing so well the past couple of races. Because if you look at the chart, you'll see that they were, going into Monaco, they were actually the third best team, and now they were, and again, they're ahead of Ferrari, so it makes sense why they've been outqualifying Ferrari constantly over the last couple of races. Now, elsewhere, I think the big, losers, well, I guess just more generally, I guess this is sort of the quote-unquote nerfing that Ferrari might have gotten. Because at least for a while there, when the game started, they hadn't accurately the game wasn't accurately reflecting the actual performance of the Ferrari, so maybe this is accounting for that, perhaps. But elsewhere, so I guess so right now, well, we'll see how it goes to qualifying, but Mercedes is the clear top team, and then it's basically a four-way fight elsewhere between ourselves, Red Bull, Ferrari, and Racing Point. Interestingly enough, AlphaTauri has jumped up to the sixth best team on the grid, which sort of plays into what we've been seeing recently, where Danny Kvyat has been getting some good results. And as well, McLaren and Renault, the other two Renault teams, have actually taken pretty significant hits with this adjustment in the chart. As I bring up the one from the last video again. So in the last video, and I can't really show this obviously because it changed, but just looking at it from what I was able to take a picture of, Alpha, Haas, and Williams were sort of all on their own at the bottom, where they were the clear three worst teams. And then it was basically sort of a sandwich between ourselves all the way down to Renault, who were the seventh team out of 11. Now, Renault has dropped to the third worst team on the grid after it looks like AlphaTauri is going to have an upgrade coming into this race in France. They are going to have an upgrade coming into this race in France. McLaren and Renault, who are the other, the Renault power teams, are not doing as hot. So, I think that has changed what I'm going to do with my development. Because previously we had the best engine. Now, we have the best chassis. By far, like a clearly the best chassis compared to everyone else. Well, not clearly, it's actually pretty close, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. So I had originally planned on doing this DRS upgrade to help our downforce. But, seeing, as you can see, the massive gap that we have to Mercedes in the engine department, I think the next thing I'm going to do is just pile on the engine upgrades. Now, we do have an upgrade generally for Renault coming on July 12th. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition and if that helps us a little bit even more. But gonna go with another engine upgrade, going with this ECU upgrade, and that will come in time for the British Grand Prix. And then the other upgrade that's already coming will be in time for Austria, hopefully, if everything goes well. So, long-winded explanation, but there you go. I think the reliability's gotten shaken up as well. Racing Point had the most reliable car. We're firmly at the bottom, but at the same time, I feel like our reliability is still pretty good. Like, Magnussen hasn't retired at all so far this year, so hopefully that's a positive omen, but yeah, we'll see. So it's interesting to see that shakeup, and we'll see how it plays out in qualifying. If the chart is to be believed, then the top 10 should be clearly some sort of mixture of Mercedes, my team, Jaguar, Red Bull, Ferrari, and Racing Point. At least that's how it should work in theory. We'll see if it works in practice. Alright, going to be getting ready to qualify in a second. See how we go here. So I'm going to send a text here. Alright, let's try this again. Terrible run through that first corner again. Hesitating going into that turn. It's cost me a ton of time. Get back under braking. No, keep going. For whatever reason, I keep going wide in turns. I have no idea why. that's better. Actually made the turn. I actually thought practice went, like I said, I thought practice went very, very well for me. Not only was, you know, the car handled great, but it's just, I felt like I was really, really got a handle of this track for like the first time in a while. I was just nailing the different turns perfectly. I don't know, like I said, the car, I just was nailing the corners really, and I guess that's what was giving me some confidence here. We got back up to second. Looks like we were going to fall to fourth, but second place. So that confirms that even though the performance chart changed, well, it confirms that even though the performance chart changed, it didn't affect our performance. Our performance is correct, it's just the chart was off. Even though Mercedes now have a much more powerful engine.
Complete, let's review our top three today. Bottas, the owner driver, and Lewis Hamilton. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
All right, there you go. That is the qualifying for the French Grand Prix. Let's take a look at the results here. Okay, yes, so we are in the front row. Hamilton and Verstappen behind us. Actually, this is a pleasant surprise. So, we just went over how the Racing Points are the fourth best car in the grid on paper. Okay, so there's a short break. So what does I say? Okay, yes. So, the Racing Points are the fourth best team on the grid in the performance comparison chart. Obviously, had great qualifying efforts both in Azerbaijan and Canada. And you're looking at the results here, they're nowhere. You see, Lance Stroll is down at 14th, and Sergio Perez is down at 15th. So on paper, the Racing Points are better than the Ferraris, the Renaults, the McLarens, and the AlphaTauris. But then when you look at this qualifying result, Renault, who on paper, again, on paper, they are the third worst team on the entire grid. Yet you have Daniel Ricciardo qualifying in P6, Esteban Ocon getting P11, Danny Kvyat have a solid qualifying in P12, AlphaTauri, they went up a little bit, but they're still sort of not really there. And then you have McLaren qualifying 9th and 13th. So, yeah, it's Interesting, I guess. Just, did not expect to see what we saw here. But it's good to confirm that our qualified pace is what we thought it was, I guess.
All right, I think we can call that a successful qualifying. We should be in with a good chance in the race.
Alright. Qualified second. Should have a good chance in the race, as was said. And also impressive that we did that on an engine that's got parts that are 50% worn. Should be interesting to see if that plays anything in the race. Also important to note that this is a track where the one stop can be very, very powerful. Alright, well let's go to the French Grand Prix.
Hello and welcome to the Circuit Paul Ricard, current home of the French Grand Prix, an event dating all the way back to 1906. It's been held at many venues over the years, with famous moments from Dijon and Manicourt the feature of many a highlights reel. And let's hope we see more of those in the race today. 6 lefts and 9 rights give us a total of 15 corners here at the Circuit Paul Ricard, and a lap covers an overall distance of 3.6 miles. Average speeds will be somewhere in the region of 142 miles per hour, and they'll be maxing out on the Mistral Straight at around 205 miles per hour. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. Can we begin by having a chat about Charles Leclerc? That was a great podium in the last race. So can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position and the owner-driver alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo and Leclerc, Magnussen, Sainz, Albon and Esteban Ocon, Kvyat, Norris, Lewis Hamilton and Stroll, Perez, Gasly, Romain Grosjean and Antonio Giovinazzi, Russell, De Vries, Latifi and Tatiana Calderon. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Well, we just had a very interesting development as Lewis Hamilton appears to have gotten a grid penalty for presumably changing engine components. I also forgot to mention in the qualifying rundown that our teammate, Kevin Magnussen, had a good, I think this is the first time he's qualified in the top 10. He's going to be starting, well, would have been P8, now he's P7.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
And of course, this is a home race for Renault, which is equally interesting. Unlike last year's French Grand Prix, this will be dry from start to finish, which is good. You can see the full effect of the potential one-stop that the guys behind us could be doing. And of course, because it's two softs and a medium, we are going to switch to a medium tire stint, and go soft at the end. So soft, medium, soft. I think that's a good play. Be the fastest car on the track at the end of the race. And we'll see who's gone on what here. The race director. Of course, as predicted, because Lewis Hamilton, because he qualified in the top 10, he has to start on the tires to qualify, even though he has a grid penalty. So he's the only one outside the top 10 starting on softs. So the ones to watch, at least based on where they are on the starting grid, are going to be Ocon, Kvyat, and Norris on their medium tires. They are the first ones on mediums in the starting grid.
Clutch bite is good, gearbox is responding normally. Make sure to warm up the tyres and brakes. Warm the tyres and brakes throughout the lap.
And I guess we'll see where they end up when the order sorts out after the first lap or two.
No rain expected. No rain expected for the time being. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment. Okay, our main competitors in this race are Bottas and Verstappen.
So we're actually in a very similar situation to what we were in Canada, where we're starting second alongside a Mercedes, and if we play it right, we should be able to get the jump on Bottas going into turn 1. I believe this run down to turn 1 is a little bit longer compared to Canada, so we should have an easy time getting by it. Bottas at the start here. And then since nobody, if the pattern continues where we don't really run away from people, I guess the previous patterns, then, if the guys in front of us get ahead, they pull away to a massive lead, but if they don't and we get the lead, it sort of doesn't really happen that way. I think the guys starting outside the top 10 could have a real shot at getting a podium, maybe even a win. That could be a stretch, but we'll see. Of course, the big story is Hamilton starting as far back as he is, see if he is able to make his way through the field. Again, with the changes, you know, clearly shows Mercedes has by far the best engine. So we'll see if they can put that to good use here.
The rest of the grid is forming up. Be patient and watch for the lights.
So can we get a good result here? Can Hamilton make his way through the field? Can one of the soft, medium tire starters do well? And can we do well for Renault in their home race? But here we go. 5 red lights. Away we go for the French Grand Prix. And it's a great start up the line, even with Bottas going into turn 1. Will we get him? It's going to be side by side, I think. Ooh, a little bit of contact, but we get him. We are away. We are in the lead of the French Grand Prix. Bottas, Verstappen, Vettel, and Ricciardo are right behind us. And then just to check a quick replay of what's going on behind us. Let's see, where is Lewis Hamilton? There he is. He is still behind Norris, still behind Kvyat. Norris actually got by Kvyat. So it looks like the top 2 soft tire runners, or top 2 medium tire runners, are going to be Esteban Ocon and Lando Norris. Actually, yeah, Esteban Ocon and Lando Norris, because Sainz qualified in the top 10, so he should be on softs. There we go. Start is away. We are in the lead. French Grand Prix.
That's a strong start. Well done.
Thank you, Jeff. Did exactly what we needed to do. Got into turn 1 and away. And man, we are actually managed to put in a little bit of a gap to Bottas. 3/4 of a second almost. He's closing up on us. The Mercedes cars, I think both here in the game and in real life, are very underrated in terms of their downforce, which I think is partly why in real life they're so dominant so far in 2020. Yeah, Bottas is right up our tail. We're going to bend all that it's worth through this first section of the race. Save here right after the first lap. We actually had a lot of fuel saved up at the start of this race, so we have a lot of extra fuel to burn. Comes to defending her position here. Not as good run through that penultimate corner. So now Bottas is right behind us again, and now DRS is available. Everyone behind us is just setting fast laps. Well, not everyone. It was Bottas and it was Verstappen. The top 7 myself, Bottas, Verstappen, Vettel, Leclerc, Ricardo is dropped to P6. My teammate is up to P7. Then from just basically looking on the map, it looks like there is Sainz in 8th, Albon in 9th, 10th is Ocon. Oop. And as I say that, Bottas looking for a move. But we're gonna beat him into the chicane. I was saying Hamilton looked like he was stuck there for a while, but I think that the pace of the Mercedes finally started to show itself because Sainz is 8th, Albon is 9th, 10th is, guessing, 10th is, Esteban Ocon. Sorry, Esteban Ocon is 10th. Kvyat is hanging on to 11th, but he's got Hamilton right on his tail. And then there's Norris. And then the racing points, which, now I speculated previously, in I think it was Canada, or maybe Azerbaijan, it must have been Canada, that maybe those tracks were just better suited to the racing point. Because obviously, you know, they qualified deep at the pack, and they did not, and they were, it's not like it was close, they seemed off. So... we are still doing well in the lead. Interesting to see what the tire wear is like here because pit window's lap 7 to 8.
Be careful, we think you're going to start losing some tire grip around now.
And to make our strategy work, we really need to go 7 laps. So I think we're going to stick to our plan of pitting on lap 7. And I guess in that case, it should be interesting to see where everyone comes out when those pit stops are completed. Given the guys who are probably doing a one-stop. Which as of right now, Ocon is the guy who's leading.
We're monitoring somewhere on the ICE. Be aware that we will start to see a loss of power.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm very aware that the engine components were worn coming into this race, but as I was saying, Ocon continues to lead the runners on the medium tire.
We're approaching the pit window.
So he is the current leader of the one-stop brigade. With Kvyat second. Lando Norris has really dropped off from Kvyat, who has now been passed by Hamilton. So... got a really bad run through that
engine is looking a little worn. Power
corner
output
set
will be
there.
less than optimal.
As Bottas and Verstappen are really sucking up to me here. Bottas going to make a move to the outside, but it's as I paid too much attention to looking behind me, and I went off track. So it's really tight with this front 7 here. And as far as we can tell, the only one-stoppers who have really fallen off the pace compared to the rest of the pack are the Haas cars and then the Williams cars. They're really the only ones that are sort of like dropping back, which again, that's to be expected. They're the 2 worst cars in the field. And this is going to be a very interesting race. And some underdogs could be in for some big points coming out of this one. We'll see as we come off. Bottas is still right behind us. We'll let him go to the inside,
Leading
then
our
we'll have the
teammate by
inside coming into the next
2.0
corner.
seconds.
Or that will happen. That was weird. Let's try that again. Trying to break the draft. Much better defense that time around. Okay, so it's lap 6. Pit projection has us coming out in 20 seconds. We would be behind the Williams cars. 51% wear, so we do have the pace to go another lap on these tires. Though I imagine by the time we hit the pits, it's probably going to be down to 60, up in the 60% range. And Bottas can make another move. We push him wide to the left, and enables us to get a good run through the chicane and maintain the spot. What I'm doing is I'm running lean through this part of the track here, just to help save a little bit of fuel. Oh, we have our first driver into the pits. It's Charles Leclerc. Not Sebastian Vettel, it's Charles Leclerc. The pits.
We're going to box this lap, push hard on the in-lap.
Now, if my presumption is correct, I think everyone behind me was going to be pitting, doing the two-stop. They're going to be doing soft tires first. And then ending on the mediums. Whereas, of course, we are going to switch to mediums, then end the race on softs. As we check the race director and Leclerc. Actually, no, Leclerc has gone on to the mediums, so perhaps he is doing the same strategy as I, going soft, medium, soft. Bottas looking for another move. It's not going to get done, though. So it can be very tight. We maintain the position.
Understood, stopping this lap. Affirmative, medium tyres at the next stop.
Bottas looking for a move to the inside. Ooh, with a little bit of contact. Maintain the spot. Look to the inside once again. A weird section of the track to pass, Bottas. How is he trying to stick his car up there?
Confirmed, we'll receive you at the end of this lap. Affirmative, medium tyres at the next stop.
Now, interestingly enough, Bottas does not come into the pits, while I think Hamilton did. It's interesting that even though Hamilton is that far back, he's still got the preferential choice.
Go, exit now.
Coming into the
We're
pits.
racing on the exit. Release, release.
Where you would think Bottas, who has the actual chance to
Only
win,
one stop to go. One stop
didn't
left
get that
in this
treatment.
strategy.
and actually we've been jumped in the pits by Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. And just to update the pit strategies, everyone who came in behind me, so Sainz, Hamilton, Vettel, and Verstappen all came in on softs, or changed to softs, while myself and Leclerc went with the medium tire. As we are working around our teammate, Tatiana Calderon. Get the inside, there we go. squeeze in, easy as you like. Hopefully she holds up the cars behind us just a little
Brilliant. Nice move.
bit. Get away. Now I have to applaud the Ferrari boys on Leclerc's pit box. Second race in a row where short pitting, or getting the undercut, has worked out for him. Because of course the whole reason why he got that podium in Canada was mainly because, I think on the second pit stop, I want to say, either in the first or second pit stop, he short pitted. And that enabled him
Accumulating some wear on the
and Daniel
MG
Ricciardo
UK. To manage this, we'll need to lower our ERS deployment mode.
get by both Mercedes cars. Now, that's the reason why Leclerc got his podium. Now let's see where everyone shakes out in the pits here, and who does what. So Bottas comes in for softs, so he'll be doing a 2-stop. That's confirmed, of course. It's held up a teeny tiny bit. Albon to softs. Who else is in the pits? Somebody else is in the pits. I know my teammate is in the pits. That's Kevin Magnussen. And then one of the Renaults, that's Ricciardo, is in for hard. So that's very interesting. Daniel Ricciardo. See, this is the one other strategy that I was wondering about. And what some people tried last year before the rains came is Ricciardo started on softs and is going to end the race on hards. Now he's going to lose time. That's going to happen. But he does not have to stop again for the rest of the race. So he could be the one to watch here. He could very well be the one to watch. Now, as far as the front runners go, waiting that couple extra laps there proved to be not good for Bottas and Albon and those guys who just hit it, because now, essentially, we got the, well, not we, I should say, but Verstappen and Vettel got the jump of Bottas, because Bottas waited 2 extra laps. So Ricciardo is shotgun Charlie. He's running last, but he's on the hards, and he does not have to pit again, so very intrigued to see where he comes out in relation to the guys who are doing the one-stop. Because I'm sure we'll catch the guys in front of us who are doing the one-stop, but and again, of course, the difference with Ricciardo is that he does not have to stop again. He is done for the day on pit road. Because now Leclerc is stuck behind Nicholas Latifi, which could be beneficial to us. We make a move to the outside. And maybe Verstappen will be taking a look here. He's going to go way wide. If it turns to the inside, we're going to get Nicholas Latifi, shove him out of the way, and there you go. Double overtake in the last sector, the last couple corners, has gotten us back in front of Leclerc.
Great work. That's a new fastest lap of the race.
As we set the fastest lap of the race, probably thanks to DRS. And so right now, as it stands, Esteban Ocon leads the race, leads the French Grand Prix, his home Grand Prix, in the French manufacturer Renault's factory team, with a potential, legitimate shot to win this Grand Prix. Some people don't like the fact that the one-stop is OP on certain tracks, but I kind of like it because it gives the opportunity for some potentially wacky results like this, where you got Ocon and Danny Kvyat in the Toro Rosso with legitimate shots to win this race right now. Now we are, of course, catching up to the Haas cars of Russell and De Vries. Are we going to try and make an outside move on Russell? Can't make it work 2 times in a row. Making this outside on the penultimate corner to the inside on the final corner, squeezing him out. And just like the last lap, that allows Leclerc to sneak in and get by.
We're in 10th position. De Vries just ahead. Push for the position. Less than a second separate you. They're on old mediums. Leclerc is behind you. The gap is less than a second. They're on fresh mediums. The distance to the leader is 16.6 seconds. Your pit window opens in 9 laps time. 17 laps to go.
So that's the gap, 16 seconds. So race leader Esteban Ocon, with everyone, save for Daniel Ricciardo, needing to make one more pit stop. And here comes Leclerc, he's fighting back. We're going to take it back here, going to the chicane. It's going to be tight with De Vries in front of us. We maintain that spot over Leclerc. And we should get by De Vries right here. Gives us room on the outside. And now he will hold up Leclerc through this final sector. Will help us get away from him just a little bit. Now, presumably, all the guys who are staying out right now are going to be going onto hard tires. So that should be interesting to follow. And just looking at the track map here,
Our gap to the car in front is 9.1 seconds.
very clear to see that Haas and Williams are well far off the rest of the midfield. Because we just got by Nick De Vries in the Haas, and we are now 8 seconds behind Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo. So there you go there. And unfortunately, Leclerc somehow was not able to get by De Vries down the front stretch. So that has enabled us to pull out a nearly 2-second gap to Leclerc. And here they come. Here come some of the one-stoppers. Esteban Ocon is in. One of the Racing Points is in. Looks like Gasly is in. One of the Alfa Romeos is in. Let's see where they come out on track. It's going to be a big jumbled mess here, I feel like. As we go into the pits, we'll see where everyone is. Okay, so let's see. Giovinazzi pitted. You got Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, Sergio Perez. And unfortunately for Ocon, he's going to get held up in the pits by all the people trying to come out. That's definitely going to cost him some time. They're going to come out behind the crew of us who are doing the two-stop, but of course, we have to stop again. But crucially, Esteban Ocon has come out on track behind his teammate Daniel Ricciardo, who of course is on the hard tires. So at this point, I think Ricardo is in the catbird seat, as they like to say. Did I even say that right? Is it a catbird or catbird? Anyway, you sort of understand what I'm saying. He is in, I think, the best position out of anyone right now. Because he's at the tail end of that train of cars behind me. Behind me, you got Leclerc, Verstappen, Vettel, and then like two Mercedes making a pack of cars, which include Albon and Sainz, and Ricciardo's at the very back end of that pack. So, I think Ricciardo is really in the best position. We'll see where Kvyat and Stroll and Grosjean come out here, but I think Ricciardo's in the best spot right now out of anyone. Again, we'll see where Kvyat comes out in relation to Ricciardo. Actually, it looks like Kvyat might be Ricciardo out of the pits. It looks like it's pretty close, actually. Do a quick rewind once we get out of these corners and take a look-see and see where everyone is. So, Kvyat, where is he? There he is. I think this is Kvyat. Yep, that's Kvyat. There he is. Coming out behind our teammate in front of one of the Red Bulls. So Kvyat has gotten ahead. He's in the best position right now. He's behind Albon and Sainz, and he's in front of these three. And we'll see if he's able to maintain that spot, or if Albon in the Red Bull is able to blow by him. As far as our race is concerned, at this point, if we have any shot to win this race, we need to just pull away from Kvyat and Ricciardo as much as possible, so that we don't lose as much time to them in the pits. And speaking of which, all the guys who are on the soft tires just came into the pits. Verstappen, and a couple others, we'll see in a second. I guess it's Verstappen and Hamilton and Vettel, all just came into the pits right now. I think that's Verstappen, Hamilton, Sainz, and Vettel are all the guys who just came into the pits. And I presume they are on medium tires. As they are. Verstappen is 15th, but he's a significant distance behind the AlphaTauris. As Leclerc is now looking to make a move on us, and he's by.
Come on, you can win that place back.
We've just been minced down the back straight by Leclerc. Oh, that wasn't... Oh, Charles... Oh, he run wide, and Leclerc. Oh, let's see if we can do that again. Get a better run. Wide. Overtake mode, we're close. Outside Leclerc. Be close running through this fast right-hander. Run a little wide. Leclerc gets the edge. Made a poor decision there. Squeeze him down. And that gets us back in front. There we go. That's how it's done. Ooh, Leclerc looking to make a move. Can't do it. Now this time Bottas and Magnussen, our teammates, should be coming in. And they do.
Kevin is in for his stop.
So once me and Leclerc hit, the presumptive running order is going to put Danny Kvyat in the lead, with Daniel Ricciardo in second and Esteban Ocon in third. But the good news is that we are gaining on Kvyat and on Ricciardo and on Ocon. Which means that if we do pit, we will lose less time to them, which is the ultimate goal at the end of the day.
They're in 14th.
Now our rival is Bottas, and he's sitting in 14th. Pit Predictor has us coming out in P11. So at this point, we are still going to come out ahead as Leclerc now dives into the pits. That makes you wonder.
Leclerc is in the pits.
He might be going for a soft, medium strategy. Very intrigued to see where we come out in all this, because I legitimately have no idea at this
No
point.
need to worry about tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good.
Yeah, I'm guessing, we'll check. I'm guessing Leclerc must have gone into another set of mediums, and he did. And he actually came out behind Max Verstappen. Yeah, it's about 6 seconds. The good news is at this point, when we pit, at least according to the pit predictor, we should come out ahead of all the other guys that did 2 stops.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the softs.
Lap 20, that is the lap we are going to come into the pits for our soft tires.
able to run in this engine mode much longer. We're about a lap over target. Drop down to mix too soon. The car behind is dropping back by about 0.3 a lap.
Tires have just about equalized at this point. We're not really gaining anymore on Kvyat. Although we'll see what we can do on the end lap here.
Be aware the car behind has newer tyres. Car behind on newer tyres. We want to pit this lap, so push now.
We'll see what time we can gain on this lap here.
Pitting this lap then. Come into the pits at the end of this lap. Roger that. Soft tyres at the next pit stop.
And we have trouble. One of the Red Bulls is having problems, it looks like. It's Alexander Albon. He's out of the race. Let's take a look at the replay and see him coming to a stop. Yeah, big plume of smoke. And he parks it up right at the inside of turn 1. Does not appear that this will bring out a safety car. Which is unfortunate because we could use that to our advantage. Here we go, into the pits for our final stop of the day. Switching on to soft tires. Here we go, soft tires on. We're on our way. We're actually going to fall back a little further than I thought. We're going to be down to
finish the race on this compound.
13, 14. Right in front of Bottas. Again, we have the best tires in the field right now.
Clear.
Better than anyone else. Let's see where we can go the next 6 or 7 laps. look at it. We already just gapped Bottas. He's in the rear view. He's not a threat to us. Lewis Hamilton, P12, first car in front of us. Can we get him into the hard with a fast right-hander? No. Let's see if we can get him on the outside, maybe. No, not quite. Or have to get him unconventionally, like we did before, to Verstappen or to Leclerc on the outside. In order to get by Leclerc as well. We are. Excellent. And now we're making moves on Grosjean. Even before the final corner. And we're up into P10 in the points.
Maneuver. You made it look easy.
Now we can go for the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. 2 purple sectors. Of course, the first one we were on pit road. Now let's see what we can do on a full lap. We're behind Max Verstappen, so we should have the DRS this time by. Purple sector 1.
Our gap behind is 1.8
See if we can get by
seconds.
Max here. He'll also have DRS. In the slipstream, not making much progress, but we can make a dive into turn into the chicane here. No, we can't. Stuck behind Verstappen for now. Could make a move on him here going into the fast right-hander. Still stuck behind him, trying to make some room wherever we can. Can't get him there, but we're on his outside now. Still there. We got him. Into P9. And actually, I just missed this. Daniel Ricciardo has gotten by Daniel Kvyat and is now in the lead of the Grand Prix. So even though Ricciardo's tires were a little older, he managed to get by the Russian for the lead. And I actually hadn't noticed that the Racing Point cars had been catching, they were catching Ricciardo and Kvyat. So maybe Kvyat was going a little slow. Ricciardo's in the lead and he's pulling away. Now we're up to Lando Norris as we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix.
Good job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far.
So that bonus point will be coming our way. Should we hold on to it? Lando Norris in front of us trying to get by him. Of course, we are on softs compared to a little bit of contact with Norris, but we get by him. Don't think we got any front wing damage. We'll check. A little scruffed up, but looks okay. Nothing
There's
major.
4 laps of fuel remaining.
But we're still away. By Norris for P8. Now attacking Grosjean for P7. Grosjean has not scored any points this year, to my recollection. I think the only other points for Alfa Romeo was scored by Giovinazzi. It'll be a good day for the Alfa Romeo squad if they can hold on to points here. And Verstappen has gotten stuck behind Lando Norris. Bump there to Grosjean unintentionally. Try the outside once again, doesn't work quite as well. We should have the DRS on him here. We should easily blow by his Alfa Romeo. There we go, into P7. Now we close in on another Frenchman in this race, Pierre Gasly, was sitting in P6. Around the outside, the sharp right-hander. A little bit of contact, but we're through. Into P6. Gasly now falls into the clutches of Roman Grosjean. He's looking to make a move here. And not quite. Gasly fighting him. That's going to bring Norris and Verstappen right to their rear gearboxes. As that Norris looking to make a move? I think Norris just went 3 wide with them. Let's take a look at that again. I think Norris just made a bold 3 wide pass for position here. Look at him down the straight. There he goes to the inside. Gasly and Grosjean make contact, and Norris just flies on through for P7, but Grosjean fights back. Some great battles in the midfield. That's allowing us to get away. As next on our list in front of us is Esteban Ocon in P5. You know, really wide into that corner. Not doing ourselves any favors. I was saying the racing between Norris and Grosjean has basically allowed all the fast cars behind them to catch up. Now they're basically Norris and Grosjean are heading a massive train that consists of Verstappen, both Ferraris, both Mercedes, and my teammate of Magnussen. So, hey, I'm not going to complain about that. They're keeping them behind me. So we're going to have a good day points-wise. As poor Danny Kvyat, who was in position to potentially win this race, is now fallen to P4. And Ricciardo's victory isn't secure either, because those racing points, they're coming. They're not that far behind. So victory is not a sure thing for Ricciardo just yet. He is very much there. Or those two are very much there, and as I check, I'm not sure actually who's in second. So Perez. So Perez is there, and he is closing, as is Lance Stroll. Both of them are closing. On the leader, Daniel Ricciardo, whose last victory was the Monaco Grand Prix in 2018 for Red Bull. He hasn't won a race since. It would be incredible if Ricciardo could get a victory for Renault at their home Grand Prix in front of all of these French Formula One fans. And it'll be a great day for Renault in general, as of course Ocon is running P5.
2 laps of fuel remaining.
2 laps to go in this Grand Prix. And one of the most, I have to say personally, one of the most entertaining races, not only to drive, but just to follow in terms of all the strategies that are in play right now.
Okay, gap ahead is 2.1 seconds.
And the whole reason why Ricciardo is in this position in the first place is because he decided to go onto the hard tires. And again, he was one of the guys who qualified in the top 10, so he had to start in the softs, but he and his team made the massive decision to go on to the hard tires, and it's gotten in the lead. Now, personally, I've never been a fan of the hard tires on the game, personally.
About 10 to 15 minutes from now.
Oh, who cares? It's not going to rain. It's the last lap of the race. But as I was saying, this medium soft strategy is one that I'm always comfortable with. I never like going on the hard tires. It's just not suitable. Not necessarily not suitable, but just not. I don't like driving the hard tires unless I have to drive them. Ricciardo looks like he's going to make it work for his team and for Renault.
This is your final lap of the race.
And I said it at the top of this video how Ricardo, actually how Renault,
You're pulling out a second a lap on the car behind.
really is just, not, because of the, I guess, the changes in the recent update, they fall into the they're the third worst team on the grid. On the performance chart, Ricardo and Ocon, to be fair, have gotten incredible finishes out of the Renault cars. And while it looks like Racing Point's going to get their double podium, it's not going to be a win, and it's not going to be finishing behind one of the top teams. It's going to be finishing behind Renault. That's going to win in the French Grand Prix. Can you believe it? What's funny is that if Ricardo had done the two-stop, it would be, Perez and Stroll battling for the win. But that's not going to be the case today. Not at all. As Daniel Ricciardo is going to round the final corner, and he will win the French Grand Prix driving for the French team. The Racing Points will take second and third. Kvyat is fourth, Ocon is fifth, and we nab P6.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
An incredible result. And Sergio Perez gets the driver of the day. Fair play to the Racing Points, because they, of course, started very deep in the field.
Another superb French Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
I cannot wait to see this podium.
As today's winners make their way up the podium steps, the team at Renault have shown once again what it takes to build a successful Formula One team. A well-deserved win for them. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. And the championship leaders secured more points today, pushing their lead out even further at the top of the standings. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Well, there was a lot of incredible driving out there today, Crofty, but if I had to pick someone, it's got to be Sergio Perez. Fantastic driving.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. Meanwhile, good work from Racing Point this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So there you go. That is the French Grand Prix. Ricardo, the only smart one in the top 10, going for the soft to hard strategy, making it a one-stop, gets in the win. Hamilton gets 10th. Would have been interesting to see where he finished had he started in the position he was supposed to start in. And the only other real challenger to us in the standings that got points was Max Verstappen. So Leclerc, Bottas, and Vettel finished out of the points. Good results for Norris and Grosjean. Of course, strong results for Kvyat for 2 racing points, and Esteban Ocon. Championship standings, constructors first. Still a little bit ways behind Mercedes, but Racing Point jumps to P3 after their double podium in this race, and just putting the Red Bull and Ferraris to shame, really. Renault, with that victory by Ricciardo, puts a ton of distance between themselves and AlphaTauri for P6. And then as for driver standings, let's see. Okay, I wasn't sure which Alfa Romeo had score points, so I guess it was Grosjean who had scored points previously, so Giovinazzi still pointless right now. But there you go, top 10. Albon, man, look at the championship standings. Leclerc and Vettel in the Ferraris, P7 and P9. That's pretty brutal, not gonna lie. Alexander Albon barely inside the top 10. Magnussen's right behind him. Kvyat in a pretty solid P12. Again, he's had some good results this year, definitely outperforming his teammate Pierre Gasly. And then, there we go. We are officially a full race win ahead of second place. Unless Verstappen suddenly starts to perform, I really think it's going to come down at this point to myself and the 2 Mercedes drivers for the championship. But there we go. That is the French Grand Prix. Upset winner with Daniel Ricciardo winning in the Renault. Big claim boost for the team. $898K as per usual, only $40,000 in the base payouts. Takes us up to $13.93 million. Now, I forget if we're supposed to negotiate with Magnussen here or after the Austrian Grand Prix. It might be after the Austrian Grand Prix. We'll see. I feel like he'll be after Austria because it's officially the halfway point after Austria, but we'll see in a second. Okay, yep, so that's definitely the contract negotiation is definitely going to be after. I think, well, let's see where Magnussen is. Where's Magnussen right now? He's at 89. Let's give him some simulator training. I had the opportunity to give him some last time, but I didn't. This time I will. And let me just... We have that part coming in. And I think we're all good, so let's advance. Part comes in, that's good. Excellent. Everything goes well. Alright, that is it for this race weekend. I will see you next time for one of our best tracks in Austria.